Hi, I'm Rachel Coventry with Curtis Orchard, and I would like to introduce you to my good friend Maggie Wachter, who happens to be a master beekeeper, and today we're going to get to know her a little bit better. We met quite a few years ago, actually.
What, 5, 6,
Probably
7?
more than that. It was actually at the art theater. There was a bee movie called More Than Honey, I believe,
Yes.
and she was on a panel, and I had seen her name in several publications because she would teach Mead and other beekeeping classes, and I thought, I really want to meet this local beekeeper because I didn't know anybody else who was keeping bees in our area. So I went to it, and she said, do you have a sister? Because she thought I looked like my sister Carissa, and they both worked very closely at the Urbana Farmers Market. So through the years, we have worked many different hives together, many different projects. She and I have written a grant and done research in that regards as well. So today, I just want to introduce you to her and let her tell you a little bit more about her story. So can you tell us how you got interested in beekeeping?
Yeah, someone gave me a hive. I knew a beekeeper, and I thought to myself, this is really my opportunity because I'll probably never get the chance again to ask for a hive. So I asked him, and he gave me 2, actually.
That's quite generous.
Yes, yes, that's scary too. And all those bees. And so I took a class at the university, summer class on beekeeping.
At Illinois?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
They hardly ever give it. I was lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I took a class. We went out every week and we opened their hives. And that helped me familiarize myself with what was going on inside my own hives. But I was pretty terrified. At the first couple of years, I think, I would open the hive, look in, and all these bees would be in there, and close it up and walk away. They're fine.
I think it's good for other people to understand that just because we're experienced beekeepers, we started off not necessarily always having the knowledge and not being fearful.
Right,
right. You were afraid when you began beekeeping.
I was terrified. And I met my teacher from the university after the class on the sidewalk, and he said, how's it going? And I said, I just can't get over my fear. And he said, oh, that'll go with time. Don't worry about that. And I thought, I don't think it's going to go away. But actually, after 2 years, what helped a lot was I started treating my bees like children. I told them what I was going to do before I did it. I reminded them that I was here to help. And I don't know if it calmed the bees, but it sure calmed me. Mm-hmm. And that was the beginning of a new relationship with bees. And now they're pretty much my friends.
And I think wearing good protective equipment also helps so you're not getting those stings.
Oh, but Rachel, you taught me a long time ago, you don't even have to wear gloves. You don't even have to wear a veil. She beekeeps with arms bare from here and big, big shorts. And in Florida, I met a woman who was beekeeping in a bikini. And so all that has helped me understand that, this protective gear, sometimes it's really, if you're calm and the bees are calm, you really don't need a lot of it.
Sure, but if it helps you feel better and give you confidence,
in the beginning,
it can be helpful.
Yeah. Now when I get stung, it's just, in the beginning when I got stung, it was, oh, the pain, they stung me. Now when I get stung, it's, you stupid bee, I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
Why did you risk your life by stinging me?
Yeah.
But it took a long time.
And people always ask, does it hurt? And I say, yeah, it still hurts. So you just kind of get used to it.
But you know that it's not going to hurt forever.
Yeah.
And what we do in the sometimes in the bee yard is just count back from 20.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you're at 0, it might hurt a little, but nothing like it did.
Yeah.
So
People always are curious about these things.
I know. That's the first thing they often ask. Do you get stung a lot? And I say, oh yeah.
Yeah. They wonder, how can you keep doing that? So tell me about the process of becoming a master beekeeper.
Well, when I became a master beekeeper, it took several years. I found a master beekeeping program at the University of Florida. And so I had to go to Florida for a week of classes and exams every year for 3 years. And it wasn't so bad. It was actually fun, and it was nice to have a reason to go. And I got to meet other beekeepers, Florida beekeepers, and others from around the U.S. who also were in the program. And each year we took a test on a certain amount or certain areas of knowledge, and it got harder and harder. And in between, we had to do lots of community service. They had a number of hours that we had to log in for community service, like teaching classes or being interviewed, or I was on WFT, WFT, right?
In Chicago?
WEFT, here.
Oh yeah, WFT.
Yeah, for an interview and things like that. It was actually, I think it really helped me learn a lot about bees, honeybee psychology and the life cycle, and it was a great place to bring questions, and the teachers were really fantastic. So by the time I got my Master Beekeeping certificate, I felt like I really had learned a lot. It was a very good experience.
And now you have an award, and you've gone actually to Master Craftsman, which is an additional...
One step above. And for that, you have to write a thesis.
Oh, hold it up again.
Oh, you have to write a thesis, and this says Master Craftsman, and this says Master Beekeeping Program, University of Florida. You have to write a subject in beekeeping, and I wrote about our grant.
Oh, wonderful.
And what we learned in the grant. So,
and this is actually part of a hive.
yeah.
So that's what's kind of neat about it. If you had the other 3 parts, you could have a hive box.
It makes a box. This is one end of a box.
Yeah. Here's the handle.
Here's the handle. So you hold this box if it's full of bees. Yeah. So that's the Master Beekeeper. There are more programs now, and I think there is even one in Illinois these
Wonderful.
days.
And you can actually see the exams online, the past exams. And so I've spent a lot of time studying the exams, because I felt like even if it would prepare me if I wanted to do the program myself, and just to learn from the knowledge of the exams. And they're not easy, let me tell you. No. Maggie is a lady of many talents. She also uses her honey to make mead. So I'm going to let her share with you some of the interesting parts of mead making.
Yeah, mead, for those who don't know mead, because sometimes people say to me, what, you make meat? No, I make mead. Mead is a very ancient form of alcohol. It's honey wine. And they think that back in, very prehistoric days, the first mead was probably created when a caveman left maybe a gourd full of water, or maybe even some water on a rock, and some honey, and came back a few weeks later and drank it and had a mystical experience. And that was the beginning of Mead. And I got into it when I sold honey at the farmer's market, and one day I was used to selling 1 bottle, 2 bottles, and one day a guy came up and he wanted to know if he could buy 3 gallons of Mead, of honey. And I was shocked, and he explained he made Mead. And so I thought, maybe I should learn how to make this just so that I can talk to my customers better about it. And I did make it, and the first batch was really pretty good. And that encouraged me, and well, the rest is history. Since then, I've been making Mead pretty regularly, and I like to make it especially on special occasions. We made a Mead when you had your twin.
Yes.
Like the twin Mead.
That's right.
And I make it sometimes on people's birthdays or New Year's Day, any day that you want to celebrate. And and then I started getting interested in competition, and I put my Mead in different competitions.
And you've won.
And yeah, if I'm lucky, I win. It really seems to depend on the judge, but anyway, yeah, I've won a few prizes, and now it's just fun to make Mead.
How long would you say it takes to get the Mead? Because, you know, ciders and wines, everything can take
Years.
a couple months or
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
and so what's your...
A beer will take about 6 weeks. A Mead can take between 6 months and years, depending on if you let it evolve and continue to change. If you're not happy with the flavor, just put it away and wait 6 months later, and maybe you'll get the flavor you're looking for. So it's more like wine in that regard. It takes longer usually.
Okay, interesting. So tell me about some of the grants you've done. I know you're currently working on a grant studying wild yeast for meads, but prior to that, we together worked on a small rancher beekeeping grant in order to study the benefits of bees and where the placement is in relation to the the targeted crop on a small scale farm.
And thanks to those grants, you and I got to know each other. We were beekeeping shoulder to shoulder for 2 years, just about. Yeah, those grants come from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and they are for farmers, and beekeepers are considered farmers. And those people have been really supportive. They're called SAR, Sustainable Agriculture, Education, and Research.
Yeah.
Yeah, SAR Grants. And so this grant that that I'm working on now is it's kind of combining my interest in honeybees and my interest in brewing mead, honey wine, together. We're looking for brewer's yeast in honey from hives. So we have a microbiologist working with us from the University of Wisconsin, and we take samples of honey and we analyze them for yeast, and we're hoping to find a new yeast that we can use for brewing.
And how do you think you'll accomplish this?
Well, so far we have found yeast, but we haven't found yeast suitable for brewing. We have a yeast that maybe you can make sourdough bread with.
Oh, sure.
And we have another yeast that's used in industry to clean up oil spills and things like that. It digests the oil. Yeah, but our bees are not finding the brewing yeast. Huh. So we're gonna have to talk to them about what's important here.
Interesting. I'm here again with Maggie Wachter from Second Nature Honey, and I'd like to ask her about her experiences beekeeping in different parts of the world. I know you strive to go beekeeping whenever you travel because people do things differently, or maybe they have different types of bees there, or different equipment. Maybe you'd like to help us.
I go on beekeeping vacations. Yes, I've been beekeeping in Costa Rica. In Costa Rica, it was really great. The man who was the beekeeper lived way out in the sort of the jungle, and we had to tramp in. He and his wife did the beekeeping together, and I went along and I helped. And he built all his own equipment. But he did a pretty good job. I was really surprised. And it wasn't too different from what we do, except his boxes were bigger than ours. And those are Africanized bees too.
The ones in Paraguay were Africanized too.
I think all of South America now. And so he used more smoke than we use. But in general, the procedures were the same. And what surprised me and pleased me was how careful he was with the bees. He was careful not to squash them. He wasn't rough. He wasn't quick. And he didn't take too much honey. So, but the trouble with beekeeping in Costa Rica was that I came back with a case of chiggers. Have you ever had chiggers? Yeah, and they itch forever afterward. But except for that, it was a very good experience. And then I went to New Zealand, and because Manuka honey comes from New Zealand, it's the most expensive honey in the world.
It has extra medicinal properties, which is why it's so favored. But the Manuka flower is only grown in New Zealand, I believe, right?
It is, but now it's grown all over. It used to be just in one part of the islands, but now they've planted Manuka bushes everywhere.
It's like a crop, cash crop.
So Manuka honey, the Manuka honey industry is really going strong in New Zealand, and I would have liked to have gone back there and done some more beekeeping with them, but it's so far away, and it would have been, I would have needed a lot of time. So I haven't gone back, but it was a great experience, and also they were using Italian honeybees like
Interesting.
we use. Yeah. And then I went to Japan this last winter, and I wanted to see Japanese beekeeping, and to my great surprise, they're also using Italian honeybees. And I asked them about the wasp that
the murder hornet
kills
that everyone's talking about.
Yeah, and they put a little grid in front of the hive that's small enough to let the honeybees in, but not too, but too small to let the hornet get in. And it's such a simple solution.
Yep.
Why don't we do that?
Well, we don't have the hornet.
We don't have it yet. It's coming, but Anyway, yeah, so the world over, it looks like where I've been anyway, they use Italian honeybees most of the time. Hi, this is Maggie Wachter. I'm a beekeeper at Second Nature Honey, and I'm just going to talk about how the bees keep house. They are fanatically clean. They don't like anything in their hive that doesn't belong there. So when a bee dies, everyone in the hive has a job, and there are bees whose job it is to take the dead bees out of the hive. So we have a few dead bees here. Every day bees die. It's just natural. It's a natural part of the life cycle. Bees only live in the summertime about 6 weeks. They work themselves to death. So there are some bees here who died while they were working, and the undertaker bees, whose job it is to keep the hive clean, they will come and grab these bees in their front, between their front legs, and actually drag them out of the hive so the hive stays clean and healthy. So my name's Maggie. I'm a master beekeeper, and I have a small company called Second Nature Honey. And I'm just going to give you a beekeeper's view of the giant hornet that's been spotted in the Pacific Northwest coming from Asia. We have to go back in history, back in time, back to the Ice Age. And the glacier, when the glacier came, it separated the honeybees, and one group went east and one group went west. And the ones that went east became the Asian honeybees, and the ones that went west became the Western honeybee. And the Western honeybee is the one that we have here in the United States. The Asian honeybee is a completely different species. It doesn't intermarry with the Western honeybee, and it evolved with the giant hornet. So in the West, our honeybees have never seen the giant hornet before. It came from Asia, came out of Asia, and all of a sudden it's here. And they handle it the way they handle any threat. They attack. They attack one by one. And that suits the giant hornet just fine, because that way they bite off their heads as they come toward them one by one. And then they enter the hive and take it over. The Asian honeybee does it differently. The Asian honeybees recognize the scout wasp when it comes along to the hive, and they wait inside until the scout enters the hive to look around. when the hornet scout enters the hive, the Asian honeybees fall down on it and cook it to death. They generate a lot of heat and they cook that scout hornet to death, so it never goes back to tell the others where the hive is. Our honeybees are completely ignorant of how to do that. So we as beekeepers have to help them. And I know in the south of France, where they have these hornets, they have traps that near the hives that attract the hornets and collect them and don't let them out. In Japan, where I was last winter, they have another solution. They put on the entrance a sort of a grid that is small enough to allow the honeybee to go into the hive, but too small to allow the wasp or the hornet to go in. And this is how they keep them out of their hives. So there are some interesting developments yet to come. I'm personally hoping that the Asian hornet likes a mild climate and will be discouraged from coming to Illinois because of the cold winters, but I don't know. But in the meantime, when I was in Japan, they gave me some catalogs for these entrances, and I'm going to have to try to use my very rudimentary Japanese to figure out where I can get some traps from, or maybe just make them.